Let's get more now. We're joined by the late Bosasa CEO Gavin Watson's nephew and executor Jared Watson. Jared, you listened to that very closely. Of course, SARS is saying Bosasa dodged taxes of 500 million rand. Can you really say your uncle wasn't corrupt?
I can, yes.
Why?
There is no basis to the calculation. There is actually no calculation. It's just an assertion that's been made at this stage. SARS haven't provided us with any basis under which they come to that conclusion. There doesn't seem to be any calculation that we've been provided with, any assessment. So I'm not too sure. At this stage, we have been provided with very little evidence as to how they came up with their claim. That was only provided to us yesterday for the very first time. So it seemed to have been done on an urgent basis to stop us bringing a stay against the auction itself. I don't know why. As Gavin was saying over there, the assets have sold for in the region of 65 to 70 million rand. The assets of the business are valued in the region from a book value, not talking about even market value, but from a book value in excess of 1.2 billion rand. So if SARS claimed to be a creditor to the tune of 500 million rand, and this business is only able to liquidate their assets for 75 million rand, they stand to lose on their own assumptions for in excess of 400 million rand.
Yeah.
So I don't believe it is in SARS' best interest to allow the auction to proceed. We still claim, and we believe it's a legal fact, that the auction is and was illegal, and that doesn't change. The interdict that was brought yesterday was an urgent interdict to effectively stop the auction from even occurring. But that doesn't mean that the sales are actually legitimate sales either way. We were unfortunate to not win, but effectively the reason why we didn't was because it was brought on short notice. But the short notice was predicated on the fact that an illegal auction was occurring at the time. So you think that creates the urgency is the fact that an illegal act is occurring at the time. So we still claim, and we believe it will be proven effectively, that this auction is illegal and that none of these sales will be held to be valid, and they will all be voided.
So you're still going to go and challenge it?
Of course.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about all of the allegations against your uncle. You had Angelo Gritzi, who you say is lying. You had Andries van Tonder also questioning what he had to say at the state capture inquiry. These are people who worked very closely with your uncle, who have serious allegations against him about bribery and corruption. Again, you as a family rubbishing all of that despite what they're saying.
Yeah, let me just as a starting point say I don't speak on behalf of my family. I speak on behalf of myself as an individual and when the occasion leads as the executor of Gavin's estate. So I don't speak on behalf of the family. This isn't a family.
So as the executor of the estate, having gone through the books, you can certainly answer whether what they're saying is true or not.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I've been looking at these accounts for in excess of around a year now. And there was the Bosasa files that were released by BizNews as well that one can go and have a look at. And what you will see is that the four primary, as they describe themselves, whistleblowers were Angelo Gritzi, Andries van Tonder, Leon van Tonder, and Frans Forster. Those four individuals, on the 15th of December 2017, requested through their attorneys, Daniel Witz, if they could take over a significant part of the business and that they would pay Bosasa a fee for the usage thereof. When that request was denied, Gritzi had formed this game plan that he provided to the auditor of the business, Petrus Venter, where he said the things that he would do if the negotiations failed. And these all included triggering social media, triggering the banks, triggering a number of things that you can find them in the Bosasa files.
Yeah.
But it demonstrates that this was all a long game plan, and there's emails there which show where Gritzi was sending them to independent third parties saying that if he is not brought back into the business, he would see it that the company liquidates, and if they do that, then they'll be able to pick up their contracts. And that's documented in email. So that's his game plan is exactly what unfolded.
Okay, so let's talk about your uncle's part in all of this, though, right? Because there was video evidence presented at the state capture inquiry showing him handling large amounts of money. The question is, which legitimate business or business person has that amount of cash lying around in a big vault when you have a banking system that you should be using as a business? I want to play that video. We'll take a look at it.
me, brother.
I look at that video and something looks dodgy to me.
Sure.
What is happening there?
Yeah, so look, the question you ask is what business of this size has, or whatever, I can't remember how you referred to it, has that amount of cash. I believe many do. You must understand that this is a business that operated 30 different canteens at mines. It operated, I believe, 12 different centres at the Department of Correctional Services. It operated the Lindela facility, where there are significant cash intakes consistently. And this company did have a significant amount of cash produced through these facilities. So it is not irregular, rather, that they had this amount of cash on hand.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that canteens are making millions from several businesses. And also, even if those canteens are making money, it has to go through a banking system because of tax purposes.
No, for sure.
So why is that money in a vault? It seems suspicious.
So what happens generally is that they'll collect cash from sites. I think they use G4S security. They would collect cash from sites. They would accumulate it and then bring it to the office. As far as I believe, I was never an employee of the business, but this is the cash system as it works. They would collect sites from canteens, from the repatriation centre, from wherever they operated a facility that produces cash that would be accumulated at the company, and then from that stage it would then be taken into the banking system. But this isn't anything out of the ordinary.
Not out of the ordinary in normal business practice.
No, yeah. To have a company of the size produce amount of cash and then to be brought back to the business is not, I don't believe, is out of the ordinary.
I get you, but then you have the CEO of the company handling all this money,
Sure.
which is untoward as well, because which CEO is there counting money in a vault? You know, normally CEOs have an oversight role,
Yeah.
making sure that the business is running with profits, etc. But now you have an uncle who is in a vault counting that money himself. And that, of course, is an allegation from Angela Gritzi saying that this man was counting the money to give them to pay bribes for contracts.
Yeah, I mean, it's all untested allegations. The reality of it is that this video is clearly a setup. As you can even see where Gavin counts the money, even says to Andries van Tonder, who's recording the video, he says, here's your stuff. So Gavin was asked to count the money, which was out of the ordinary. This is the story that he specifically told me. He said, look, he had been asked to count cash, which is very out of the ordinary for him. But
he's a smart businessman. He should know that that's out of the ordinary.
No, of course.
I mean, he shouldn't be going into a vault to count cash.
No, for sure. But he had been effectively set up by someone he trusted significantly. It was the CFO of the business at the time, Andries van Tonder. And this was a game plan that was clearly hatched at some stage to capture this man, to try and create a perception of something on camera. But if you dissect the video itself, if you look at every element of it, there's so many lies that have been told. They are suggesting that someone's there to collect cash or something like that, but the employees that come in are literally asking for requisitions to be signed, and they leave there without any cash. The cash is merely there and then put into the vault for safekeeping. So yes, they created this perception of something untoward, but it's designed to create that perception. That is the whole game plan. As I said, if you look at the files, they've established that this was their game plan, is to discredit the business in any way they could, to create this perception in the public domain so that the company would liquidate and that they could pick up the contracts.
How does the CEO of a multi-million rand company actually fall for something like that? Because your uncle was not a stupid businessman. He was a very smart businessman. He was the owner of so many companies with so many government contracts, making millions from it. How would he be tricked into going to a vault to handle so much money and at the same time be filmed doing it?
So he was, I think, very naive. I mean, these are people that he trusted. These are people that worked there for 20 years. Remember, the whistleblowers, as they refer to themselves, that were trying to take over the company, were the COO of the company, the CFO of the company, the CIO of the company, and the head of procurement. So there's a significant amount of collusion here. And these are people that he worked with for in excess of 20 years. So to suggest that someone can be hoodwinked from someone that he trusts so closely, obviously, there's not much.
And you see nothing untoward about a CEO of a company going into a vault handling money?
No, sure. I mean, it is out of the ordinary, and he said so himself. You know, he said this isn't. Remember, we know this was recorded in Gritzi and them say on the 27th of March 2017. Gritzi left on the 10 days before that, sometime before that. Then Fantonda continues to work there for the following 8-9 months. If this was a regular occasion, they would have had 15 videos of this, but they didn't. It was a singular event that was created to create a perception of something to blackmail the company. And that's what happened. If this was such a regular event, they would have 100 of these videos. And I believe Gritzi has threatened to release more videos, but nothing has come forward.
Yeah.
This is their sole basis of their case rests on this one event where Gavin was asked to count money of the business, which I agree is an irregular occurrence.
I mean, it looks shady, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure, but it's designed to look that way is what I'm saying. And it's designed to look regular, but it isn't. If it were regular, there would be 15 of these videos, so but there aren't.
Let's talk about your uncle's death, the investigation into that.
Sure.
How's that looking?
It's slow. It's unfortunate. The police are keeping their cards close to their chest. There's nothing we can do about it. They've just asked us to wait, and in due course they will provide us with more information. And at the moment we just have to sit and wait for them to give us more.
Yeah. Why was he driving a Toyota Corolla when he had fancy luxury cars? So
what happened was the company went into liquidation in February. This was this liquidation limbo that they were in. And the liquidators at the time seized his vehicle. So his vehicle was, I know there's some rumors that have been around that he was driving his BMW for a certain length of time. He wasn't. He drove his BMW until February. It was a company-owned car. It was seized in February. They then went to a liquidation limbo where the company appeared to be out of liquidation and then back in. So for probably about a period of 10 days to 2 weeks, he was driving it again, and then he gave it back to the company. And the vehicle was sitting in the lot from March onwards. So he never had vehicles in his name, really.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that was important to him. So there was a company vehicle, and he had to give it back, and it was there for the better part of 8 months.
All right, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. That, of course, was Jared Watson, nephew and executor of Gavin Watson's estate.